Hey guys, so Sean Davy Bay put out a video tonight, and just to give the public an update as to what's going on with Jacqueline or Jaguar Wright. And let's face it, it's a human interest story. A lot of people want the story to be buried, but it's a human interest story. It's not going to die anytime soon, not as long as she's in a facility and, people want to see the outcome. When she comes out of the facility, how is she going to be? Is she going to be her old self, or is she still going to act a fool? And so he said the following things about her care. He said she's been transferred to a third facility, that there's a crisis team. When you go into a facility, whether it's a nursing home or you have stay in a hospital, a mental health facility, any type of facility, such as those that I mentioned, you're going to have a team to meet, discuss your case, and what is the best method of treatment. You can be in the hospital for a heart condition and you need a heart bypass. You're going to have a team. You're going to have a nurse, a doctor, social worker. They're going to determine the plan of care when you go into the hospital. Right? The nurse draws up a plan of care, but it's not without input of the other team members. So when you get admitted into a facility, you have a clinical care team, and usually it comprises of physicians, nurses, physician assistants, clinical pharmacists, social workers, and other team members. And they collaborate and they communicate with each other as to how can they serve the patient better based on what they go in for. In Jaguar Wright's case, she's going to have a psychiatrist, she's going to have nurses, she's going to have a physician, she's going to have a lot of clinicians there that's appropriate for her type of care. Everything is specialized as to your plan of care. And like I said before, if you go into a hospital, they're going to have a plan of care for you, and they're going to have specific individuals for your type of care. And all those individuals are known as a team. So in Jaguar's case, she's going to have psychiatrists, she's going to have psychologists, nurses, and other trained medical individuals, trained. And they're going to be there around the clock, like the nurses are there around the clock. If a psychiatrist is needed for any reason, they can call the psychiatrist any time of the day. Let's say she needs a script for medications. They might call the psychiatrist to get an emergency script. All those things, have to be in place. When she gets to that facility, that care plan is drawn up with all those specialized individuals included in the care plan, and then they start collaborating how best to help the patient, for them to not only get through the plan of care, what they have in store, but the transfer back to home. A mental health treatment plan is drawn up. It's going to detail her current mental health problems, and it will outline the goals and strategies that will assist her in overcoming mental health issues. So in order to ascertain what kind of treatment she's going to be on, a mental health worker will interview her to determine what is needed. Psychiatrists may interview her. And sometimes if the patient is lashing out, they don't even need to interview the patient. They just come in and take one look, and you acting crazy and a fool, and they say, okay, yeah, she belongs here. Yeah, let me write this script for her. This is the medication. Put her on this right away. We'll see how she does on it. And if that doesn't work, we'll put her on something else. But those things are done. And I don't know. Sean Davy Way said she was transferred to another facility. I have no idea why. It can be a host of different reasons. But I'm thinking maybe they transferred her because they needed access to the specialists or procedures not available where she was currently being held at. And sometimes that depends on the insurance company. What is the insurance company covering? Does Jaguar have insurance? Because Goomber said she wasn't able to get on to his VA stuff. So I'm wondering if she's even covered with any type of insurance to cover the cost. And if she's not covered, then it would be the state, right? That would pick up that bill. So I'm wondering at this point if she's awarded a state. Because Sean Davy said that the team that was assigned to her, the nurse or nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists, social worker, clinicians, all of that. The team made a decision to take him off of the case. And I'm thinking they just can't arbitrarily take a husband off. But can they remove him because they decide to? Remember, he's the legal next of kin. So Sean Davy Bay said the husband Goober has been taken off the case based on the team. But I'm thinking the team took him off because he requested to be taken off. I don't think they can just take him off because, according to Sean Davy Bay, when she was home the last time, when they released her to home, the people in the home were supposed to follow up with certain things to make sure she did certain things and it wasn't done. Just like Legina. Remember? Legina got released from the psych hospital and she was supposed to go to outpatient treatment. And if her condition got bad, then she was supposed to be back in the psych hospital. And she skipped town. She never, since she's been in Texas, she's not going to any outpatient treatment center. She's not following up on anything. Same with Jaguar. The last time Jaguar was in, according to Sean Davy Bay, she was supposed to follow up without treatment. She was supposed to be going to an out treatment center. She was supposed to adhere to certain medications. The people they released her to was supposed to make sure she took her medications. Now you guys tell me, does Jaguar Wright look like somebody you can force to take medications? Honestly. Is she the type of person you can say, okay, Jag, take your meds now? I don't think so. So you see, they don't know the individual. That's why they're able to say all those things. But her husband knows her. He knows he can't force her to do anything. So apparently she wasn't taking medications. Maybe that's why she went off the wall like that. Because if you're not taking medications, you're going to have triggers. You're going to backslide. Some of those psychotropic medications, you just can't just stop like that. You're going to have withdrawals. According to the Mayo Clinic, psychotropic drugs may cause withdrawal reactions, which can occur after abruptly discontinuation or gradual tapering off. You can get the withdrawals. The article from the Mayo Clinic also said, if you come off too quickly, you are much more likely to have a relapse of your psychosis symptoms. You're going to have adverse reactions where you might really act crazy. You have to come off of them slowly. You just can't stop abruptly. Then you're going to have all kind of paranoia thoughts. Anyway, Sean Davy said no, Goober is not involved with the case, although he's concerned. So I'm thinking they just didn't take him off like that. He requested not to be on because he's no longer a part of her life. That's what I'm thinking. That makes more sense to me. Because they can't just take you off of as an next of kin, as someone who is the husband, without you being requested to come off that case. Once you request it, I would think they probably have to have it in writing, because everything these days is in writing, honey. They got to cover their bases, because you can say, I don't want to be on the case, and 6 months from now, something happened, and you go to court and say, listen, I'm getting an attorney, I'm going to sue, let's go to court, because I never requested to be off the case. I would think he would have had to sign something. That's what I'm thinking, because everything is signature these days. They want to cross their T's and dot their I's. That's the state of today's society, because everybody wants to sue. So these hospitals are going to make sure you're not going to sue them. So they're going to get your signature. So I'm thinking maybe when they asked Goober to make certain decisions, and he said, no, I can't do that because this is all alleged. Can't do that because I'm no longer involved in her life. I'm her husband, yes, but I don't even think we're married. I don't want to know parts of her because I'm moving on with my life, be separated. And they probably said, okay, you were the next of kin because you're the husband, but since you don't want to be involved, sign this piece of paperwork to release you out of this. That's what I'm thinking. And then now, since he's out, then they now have to contact the mother. That's what Sean Davy Bay said. They now have to contact her mother. And I'm saying to myself, this is a real comedy of errors, because Jaguar have a mental problem. The mother have a mental problem. So how are you going to call a mentally ill individual and make them responsible for another mentally ill patient? Makes no sense to me. I'm wondering if they even know the mother has mental health issues. Did anybody tell them that mom have mental health issues? And when they call with all the problems of Jaguar, that may trigger her. And she might go off the deep end. Because for some people, bad news is a trigger. Knowing that your daughter is locked up and then transfer, and she can't get to the phone because she's heavily medicated. Because she can talk on the phone if she wants to. Patients have that right to be on the phone for a certain amount of time. They restrict them. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever they seem fit. Their policy, that is. So what does Google say about phone calls? It says here, there is no federal law that prohibits the use of cell phones in mental hospitals. However, many states have laws that restricts how long a person can be on the phone, according to what the state says about mentally ill patients having a right to phone calls, incoming as well as outgoing. So it's a state policy. So I'm thinking she's really out of it. They've got her heavily sedated. If she was able to get to the phone, she would have gotten to the phone and give us all an update and tell us all about it. Because we know Miss Jaguar Wright is a ham for the camera. She likes the public to know what's going on in her life. Everything is public. There's nothing private. If she could have gotten to a phone, she would have done so. Now, when she went to, I believe it was the first facility, either the first or second facility, she managed to make a call. But that was the only phone call that she made since she has been in that mental health facility. I'm not sure if it was the first one or second one that she made a call out of, but it sounded as if she was sedated, that she was kind of grasping for her words, and she was really kind of groggy. So the fact that she hasn't gotten to her phone tells me that she is heavily sedated. And I wonder what caused that heavy sedation. One thing and one thing alone comes to mind. She was acting a fool, honey. Because they don't sedate you heavily just, for the hell of it. No, you got to be acting a fool. And like I said in the last video, if she acts a fool to that point where she's really off the deep end, like when, we saw her several times, like in the mayor's, when she spoke with the receptionist at the mayor's office, the airport situation, when she talked to the cop over the phone, all those things, the barbershop, she went off the deep end. And if she goes off like that in a facility, a mental facility, she's going to get heavily sedated. So that's what I'm thinking. She acted a fool and got heavily sedated. And as a result, they had to transfer her to maybe a more, I want to say, a stricter environment. So there are levels of psychiatric hospitals. And Jaguar Wright was not doing what she was supposed to do when she was out. She was supposed to be on an outpatient level of care, which she never followed up on, as far as I know, because we saw her in the car and she would never film that she was going to the outpatient clinic or outpatient hospital. Allegedly. And then there's the intensive outpatient program. None of that. We didn't see none of that. And then there's a partial hospitalization program. She didn't do that either. Like in for a couple of days and then they let her out to see how she'll do and then she comes back and be in again. Wasn't any of that. So there are all kinds of levels before you get to a residential level where you are there permanently. There are quite a few different levels. And the level that she was on was an outpatient treatment. That was like the lowest level. You got a break. You got to live your life and you take your medications. And if you have a relapse, then you go to the hospital. So what she essentially did, she gave up her little freedom by acting a fool. Since Goober chose to be out of the picture, then her mother was made the next person to contact, the next contact person. Now, I don't know if she is going to be instrumental in her care because, like I said, she's a mentally ill woman also. So how can you make a mentally ill woman the primary person to have a say in her care? I would think she would just be there for, if something happens, they can contact her. Like if they have to move her from one facility to the next, they will tell her where she's going so family can visit her and she would have, some type of connection still with the family. I would think her mother is only the contact person. And if the mother was not around, let's say, heavens forbid, her mother was not here, right? She moved on to glory. Then they would find another person in the family to be the contact person. I guess they would ask Jaguar who she wants to be the contact person. And then she would tell them, I want my cousin. And they'll keep going down the list. If they call the cousin says, I don't want to be, then they would have to find someone else. So I'm thinking maybe Goober, when he said he didn't want to be that contact person, I would think they probably asked him, well, who should we be contacting? And he said, call her mother. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's logical to me because they're not going to call the mother without him maybe suggesting. Or it could be after he refused to get involved, they called the mother, who then agreed to be the contact person. That is what I'm thinking. But it's a very, very interesting case. I think this case with Jaguar Wright is one for the textbooks. I think a lot of psychiatrists, students, they should have her case, Jaguar's case, as a case study. You know, everybody gets her case and then they study it and they come up with their own solutions and diagnoses, and you know, they really get deep in the classroom discussing the case. I think this is one for the ages, honey, because I've never seen anything like it. So Sean Davey said, now, Goomba didn't want to be a part of anything. He wants out. But all of a sudden now, he is concerned. He wants to know how she's doing. So he calls the mama to see how she's doing. Well, you know what? That's not so unusual. Not because you're out of a relationship, out of a marriage means that you don't still care about a person's well-being, because he knows the state in which she's in. And of course, we would really be wondering what kind of person is he really if he didn't show some level of concern. So Sean Davey said she was moved to a third treatment center. And I do believe she was moved because maybe it was more equipped to deal with that type of patient. You know, everything is levels. She may be in a facility where patients are walking around. They are free to make phone calls 15, 20 minutes at a time, maybe once a day, twice a day, whatever the policy is. And that is a different level. But if Jaguar is acting a fool and going into that mania stage here, you know, there are levels to these facilities. So I'm thinking maybe that's why she got transferred, because it's more of a stricter facility. So, like I said before, her getting out this time is going to be solely up to her. And I don't think she can flim-flam her way out like the last time, how she got out and didn't follow any type of recommendations or treatment orders. So I think this time around, she is going to be monitored very closely. But I'm wondering if they even know that her mother have psych issues. Her mother can't make her do nothing. If anything, she runs the mother. From what I see, from what I heard, her mother can't make her take medications. So I hope eventually her mother tells them, I can't make my daughter do anything. You can call me and give me information that I can, you know, tell the other family members what's going on, but that's about it. That's where my responsibility for her stops. Because when you release her this time around, this is what I'm hoping the mother would tell them. When you release her this time around, all your medical protocols that you're going to have in place and the follow-ups that she should do and the in-treatments, outpatient treatment center and all of that, I can't make her go. I cannot make Jacqueline or Jackie or Jaguar, whatever the name is she chooses to call herself. I can't make her go anywhere and do anything. So I hope her mother tells them that, and maybe they can see a bigger picture when it comes to Jacqueline or Jaguar. They can really comprehend and understand that this is not a patient you just send out there and they're going to stick with a routine and the regimen and the treatment order. They're going to do them. They're going to do their own thing. They're not going to follow protocol. So they're going to be back in 2-3 months from now. If they let her out after 2 weeks, she's going to be back in the same mess. I guarantee you. So guys, drop your comments. Tell me what you feel, think, heard. Hell, what's your recommendation? Because I know some of you work in the medical field and you got a lot to say. Some of you lawyers out there, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, clinicians. Tell me what you feel. Your girl want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Because I'm sure you guys have been studying Jaguar Wright and you come up with a lot of different scenarios. Let me know if this transfer is a transfer to a high security facility. So the last time Jaguar was in a psych hospital, she was on a 5150 hold. So what's a 5150? A 5150 is the number of the section of the Welfare and Institutions Code, which allows an adult who is experiencing a mental health crisis to be involuntarily detained for 72 hours psychiatric hospitalization when evaluated to be a danger to others or to him or herself, or gravely disabled. Now everyone is speculating this time around she's not going to be on that 5150 hold. They're going to step it up to something else because she's been there, done that, and it didn't work for her. So the next step would be the 5250. So according to Google, at the end of the 72 hours, if someone have been on a 5150 hold and still meets one of the 3 criteria, either danger to self and others or gravely disabled, then the attending psychiatrist can file a 5250 or certification for up to 14 days of intensive psychiatric treatment. Anyway, YouTubers, I'm over and out. Drop your comments. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in.